in New York, GOP Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining the program. Let's get right into it. What are your thoughts on the president signing this bill? And do we have a commitment for our audience that you plan on voting for the extra $2,000 to go back to Americans?
Well, first of all, I want to give the president for signing the COVID relief bill. It was attached to the appropriations bill, which is why the price tag was too high. The president is right that it was imperfect, and the main reason why it was an imperfect bill is because Nancy Pelosi dragged her feet and politicized passing a COVID relief bill before the election. She even said so herself. She didn't want to give President Trump the win. So I'm glad he signed it. I'm also glad he sent back his rescissions and his proposals for what we should cut in order to save in terms of our overall spending. When it comes to the $2,000 checks, it's important to remember that the $600 is not per family. It's per individual and per child. I am open to the $2,000 checks. That is not the only aspect of the bill Nancy Pelosi is bringing to the floor today. She is well known for loading it up with partisan provisions. But again, we're in this situation of crisis because of Nancy Pelosi politicizing this, her refusal to deliver COVID relief, because most of the provisions were very bipartisan, whether it was the Paycheck Protection Program, whether it was support for hospitals or vaccination distribution. Those were bipartisan agreements that we could have gotten done earlier this year had it not been for Speaker Pelosi.
So not an endorsement on that $2,000, Congresswoman?
I want to see what is actually in Speaker Pelosi's bill. I am open, and I believe we need to provide relief directly to Americans, but she always tends to put in partisan language, like earlier this year when she wanted to provide stimulus payments to illegal immigrants. I want to see exactly where that $2,000 is going. I'm certainly open to it because I believe that many American people are in dire need of relief. The $600, while for some families that may work, but for other families, they're going to need more support. And what I'm really proud of President Trump is he's been a tireless advocate for the American people, keeping them at the forefront of making sure that the relief goes directly to them rather than continuing on the status quo of failed programs that Nancy Pelosi tried to add into the bill.
Congresswoman, in the last speaker election, Nancy Pelosi lost 15 Democrats. 15 of them did not vote for her. Coming into this election on January 3rd, we know that Representative-elect Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman have both sort of dodged questions or failed to say, yes, I'm going to vote for Nancy Pelosi. So she may lose those 2 votes. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has also said we need more, different leadership, that our leadership is too old. If people get sick from COVID on the Democrat side, she could lose votes that way. The majority is very slim. So what do you think? Do you think she's going to become the next Speaker of the House? What are the chances of maybe Speaker McCarthy becoming the next person?
I'm so glad you asked the question. I have thought for weeks that Nancy Pelosi's speakership is in peril. And there's a few reasons why. Number one, her majority is so slim, as you pointed out. She can only lose 3 to 4 votes of that speakership. That means that there are a number of members who voted against her last time that are going to have to vote for her. In addition, it's not just the socialist far-left progressives like AOC, Jamal Bowman, and others who are withholding their votes. It's also some of the middle-of-the-road Democrats like Alyssa Slotkin, Abigail Spanberger, Connor Lamb, who promised their constituents they would never vote for Nancy Pelosi, but I know their arms are going to be twisted. When I first got to Congress, it was during Speaker Boehner's speakership, and we went through Speaker Boehner, then Speaker Ryan, and now Speaker Pelosi. And in many cases, I've learned that it's not necessarily there's another individual who can get to the 218 votes. It's when a speaker can no longer deliver the 218 votes that are needed. I don't think she has the juice to get it done. I believe that her speakership is in peril, and those members, if they withhold their votes, there will be a new generation of leadership on the Democratic side. What's interesting to me is this story is not being told in the mainstream media, which makes me think that's how perilous her speakership is, because they never want to acknowledge weakness when it comes to Nancy Pelosi. They love writing these very biased headlines about how she's master legislator, which she's not. The American people know that. But I think her speakership is very much in peril. Versus Kevin McCarthy has a unified support from the Republican conference, and we are excited to vote for Kevin McCarthy for Speaker.
She certainly has a slim margin, and that raises the questions about what could happen in the coming weeks when it comes to the House speakership. But there's no doubt there's a transformation taking place in the Democratic Party. What will happen to members, for example, of the quote-unquote squad? They've largely been reactionary against President Trump. Will the far left of that party continue to play an outsized role? Congresswoman, I would suspect the answer to that question largely lies in Georgia, where I know you're headed, at least when it comes to the Senate, where you have those runoff races. And I would suspect the outcome of those define exactly how far left Congress will go in the next couple of years.
You're exactly right. I've seen in New York among Democrats, as well as Democrats in Washington, that AOC and the far left really have control over the party. Essentially, Nancy Pelosi has to go to AOC to get her okay to bring any legislation to the floor. And that's only going to grow with a slim margin. When it comes to Georgia, what we don't want to see is a far left Senate like I've experienced in the far left House controlled by Nancy Pelosi. Chuck Schumer, I see it in New York State. He is far left. He wants Medicare for all, which is a government takeover of health care, higher taxes, a gun ban, Green New Deal, which would decimate our rural communities, causing skyrocketing energy prices. It is all on the line in Georgia, which is why I'm going down there tomorrow. I will be in Augusta, making sure that we're turning out the vote. There's early vote in Georgia happening right now. So make sure if you live in Georgia that you turn out to vote early. You can do so until December 30th or January 1st in some parts of the state. But it's all on the line on January 5th in Georgia.
Real quick, Congresswoman, there has been some allegations of people on the ground suggesting to Georgia people, because of the president's disputes and legal battle with Georgia, that Republicans not show up for this election. What would you tell the people of Georgia and those people that are putting that out there in the atmosphere?
Well, the president certainly has the right to pursue legal recourse, and there are questions as to how the election was conducted in states like Georgia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Michigan. However, this Senate race, it's all on the line. If you want to stand against a socialist takeover of the United States Senate, it is imperative that Georgians turn out to vote. This is going to be a turnout game. If Republicans turn out, we win Georgia, and that means Republicans hold the Senate, which will be a block on Speaker Pelosi or whoever the Democratic far-left speaker is, far-left progressive. We need to make sure that we hold a Republican Senate to stand up for American values, but certainly Georgia values that are capitalist, that make sure that every American has equal opportunity, and that we believe in the Constitution. So every Georgian needs to turn out to vote. I know it's frustrating after the presidential election. I was proud to be a surrogate for President Trump and strongly support him, and he's going to continue that legal recourse, and he has a right to do so. But Georgians have to turn out on that January 5th election.
Well, there certainly is a lot on the line, Congresswoman. We thank you for joining us. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Okay.